Hi, and welcome back to Fantasy Football. This is week 2. I'm Michael Berg.
I'm Andrew Berg.
We have a lot of things to go over today. First of all, before we go to the week 2 scores, this is actually where we see actually some improvement among some of the teams, those that actually go 1-1, and for those that actually are still teams looking to just get off the snide. There are some teams that have actually taken some commanding leads right now within the division, which we'll get to at a later time. But at the moment, we will go over the scores. The first scores that we wish to go over are the Blitz and Hot Rods. This actually was a pretty close game. Blitz are winning this game by 7 points, who actually got great production out of mostly, I would say, the Seattle's defense, which did an incredible job on San Francisco.
I was questioned this year about who I was keeping, specifically when I let go of players like Adrian Peterson and we're New England's offense. This is why Seattle's defense is such a game changer. You have a game here going to Sunday night. The lead was 8. It was only 10 points is all it took for the Blitz to fall to 0-2, quite frankly, against the Hot Rods team that put together an amazing performance from 38 from Green Bay, 12 from Martellus Bennett. And there's Seattle holding the fort against one of the top offenses in the league, allowing a single point.
I think this is the second week in a row that you went up against top-notch offenses in Green Bay and Denver, and you still managed to pull out one victory.
Super Bowl champs say bring it every week.
Yeah, I know. And the Hot Rods got okay numbers for them supporting cast. Martell Bennett continues to shine. Another 2 touchdowns. He had 12 points overall. It's amazing. The Hot Rods, are 0-2 this year right now. Got great numbers from Green Bay and unfortunately fell short.
Again, this is not exactly like the Hot Rods have been putting in bad performances for only 2 weeks. I believe their second week scoring over 40.
I don't think there's anything that the Hot Rods could have done differently. To try to attempt to win this game. We went over this roster outside of making transactions. This is what the most interesting part is when we go over all these scores is that you will see that unless you were making transactions, there was nothing else you could have done on your roster that would have helped you to win, at least for those teams that lost this week.
And sometimes luck is better than making smart decisions.
And we're going to see a lot more transactions. Of course, we've started to see a lot more transactions.
I'm already disappointed
every Sunday.
I'm already disappointed by a lack of trades this week. 0? Come on, guys. We had 1 last week. 1.
I mean, you could have boosted your numbers by starting Kendall Wright and Mike Wallace getting 6 points apiece from each, but
I regret the Michael Wallace move primarily. That was kind of dumb on me.
Yeah, coming off a bad week against Cleveland.
He screened comeback cause, but it's hard to put Victor Cruz on the bench. It was a mistake though. I'm a little worried about Drew Brees after 2 games though. Only 3 touchdowns in 2 games for Drew.
Well, with him against Arizona, you expect to have a better game. But from what I see right now, Blitz are 1-1. An opportunity now to go above 500. The Hot Rod's still looking to get off the snide.
Good news for 0-2 teams are that, unlike, I know you've been hearing on the NFL league how 0-2 is a death sentence. Not in this league. 0-2 isn't really a death sentence. 0-4 wasn't a death sentence for the Blitz back in the old days. They battled back, so.
Sometimes
usually, not until you get your 5th loss is when you usually would start worrying.
Yeah.
Well, if you're on 5, I recommend you just think about next year fast.
Yeah, start trading. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The next matchup also, which was, this actually was not very entertaining. The Solamente actually destroyed Boss Man. In particular, I was looking at the score, Baltimore only scoring 14 points. I mean, none of the Boss Man's offense actually produced great numbers. He could have gone with Cincinnati and gotten himself additional 6. But overall, the Solamente's performance with Rodgers, having 24 points. He got great numbers from supporting cast, from Hartley and Cobb. He didn't really need New Orleans offense. Houston actually put up respectable numbers.
It was interesting. We thought New Orleans offense would be the real, piece de resistance in this blowout, quite frankly. I think we made a mistake in our blowout of the week. Hot Rods and Blitz were a closer game than we were thinking. Yeah. This was the true game where this game was the only game that was done by 4 o'clock pretty much.
Yeah. You got actually decent numbers from the supporting cast, Bossman. You got 12 from Newton, 6 from Jackson.
Here's your problem. It's the second straight week. His offense and defense have combined for a minus. This is not helping a cause. You need your offense and defense to finish positive.
It's not a great recipe for success in our league.
No, it's not. And when you have a team that has Aaron Rodgers on his team, you have to make up for that. And you can't do that by burying yourself in the hole and asking your supporting cast to bail you out. He's already has injury problems. He's losing Steven Jackson for the next 2 to 4 weeks.
So it'll be interesting to see what he does. Now, he actually signed Willis McGahee earlier today.
Yes, and I'm sure, like everyone else in Cleveland, they're excited.
Yes, so
Yeah, we can't really endorse that too much. For the Solamente, shame to have Tavon Austin on the bench on his first breakout game.
Austin had a tremendous game. You would have blown him out by a lot more.
Yeah, it's a shame. He had to leave 12 points on the bench like
Yes.
that. But thanks for Bossman's.
But I'm sure he'll be using Austin now in the future.
I don't get it. My Super Bowl pick of the Bossman's isn't working out too well right now.
And not off to an auspicious start.
Not with the way he's managing his team, and not the way his team's even performing. It's just mistakes and poor play.
Whoopsies!
We don't endorse whoopsieing in this league, for the record.
The next matchup that we're going to discuss is the Sisselman and Rough Riders. The Rough Riders, to me, have established themselves as one of the best teams.
They are the
so
best
far.
team. They are the best team.
They are the best.
I don't think there's
the
any
combination of Manning and Denver to this point has destroyed opponents, and he will continue to ride them. And I feel sorry for the Rough Riders' next opponent, considering that Denver is actually playing the Raiders Monday night.
We'll talk about that when we get to next week's
This actually
matchups.
was the matchup of the week, I believe.
This was our game of the
two.
week. You know what? It played that way. I have to say, this game was looking like it was going to go off the rails early when Houston was doing absolutely nothing offensively. Then all of a sudden they woke up, and all of a sudden Sisselman Down was making it a game. But the problem was, I gotta say, Eli Manning, their quarterback position let him down this week.
Yeah, you expected more from Eli Manning and the Giants against
After
Denver.
making a smart move by not using Brady this week, you figured Eli would get more than 6. Well, unless you were counting interceptions, he just let him down. And this trade was supposed to help Sisselman Down at quarterback, and it backfired.
He even actually hedged with Wes Welker for 6, and he still managed to fall short. He got good numbers from Houston. It was just not enough considering what Denver put up.
Heck, Rough Riders had a freebie on defense this week with Oakland going against the Jacksonville charity offense.
And was System Down started New England's defense. It only allowed 10 points.
I thought Oakland faced my semi-pro-team.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he banked Deshaun Jackson, which I believe had 6 points, but on that, there's not too much he could have done to actually help. Just too much offensive firepower.
The dangerous thing is what could happen when the Rough Riders get more points. This looks like a kind of an average week for them. No points from AJ Green, no points from AP.
You kind of wonder exactly, if this will ever stop with Denver, but right now you just don't see it happening.
I wonder how long he'll ride the defense train. Lord knows Oakland's definitely not a defense that'll be this good again.
Well, yeah, I mean he does have the Jets. We'll see if he elects to start them against Buffalo.
I think Ben's been getting a lot of favor this year from good defensive matchups, and kudos to him for taking advantage of a good early schedule.
Yeah, and that's without the supporting cast doing just about nothing.
And this week, only Julius Thomas was really out the show.
Yeah.
Pierre Garçon was riding the bench, but we can say the same thing for Deshaun Jackson riding the bench for System of the Down. Is there 3 tandem wide receiver he guessed wrong this
Plus
week?
32-point differential between offense and defense. It's remarkable.
And
when that usually happens, you win.
Plus 22 outshines plus 32 outshines a plus 20, and this game was a 15-point game. That's how close it was.
That's how close it really was. All right, the next matchup, the Bolts versus Falcons. This was very interesting because the Falcons actually got hit by the injury bug in this game, with 2 players leaving with concussions in Andre Johnson and Eddie Lacy.
Concussions were a big deal for the Falcons, but that wasn't really the reason why they went down in this game, quite frankly.
It could have actually helped considering the margin of victory by the Bolts in this game. Not a lot of points scored offensively. It's interesting, he was very concerned about Denver's defense, but then again, Denver's defense only allowed 16 points.
Which was kind of getting out of there fast before the crap really hit down here. The Bolts, again...
We were ready to throw the book at Tom, actually, for starting New England's offense, but it turns out he didn't really have too many choices.
But again, it doesn't say much again for New England's offense not coming through for the second week in a row, this time with only 13. This is not a sign of a winning recipe.
No.
He was able to get some good... This time, Tom Sporting Cash joined the NFL this year, which is great after his
free agent signing Moreno helped last week, 12 points, and Hopkins, of course, with a game-winning touchdown for Houston. He did leave Greg Olsen on the bench, which could have given him an additional 6, but he put respectable numbers.
The defense was the story here, as Baltimore redeemed itself after last week's 49er on the bench.
They only allowed 6 points.
This was a much better week for Baltimore against Cleveland.
That's the reason why I kept them, too.
I think maybe if the two if Johnson Lacy were in the game, it's a possibility that
you think
the
Lacy
Bolts would have lost.
Possible. Lacy probably would have gotten the score, judging by if James Starks can tear up that defense.
He left Fleener on the bench, which gave him his 6 points. So that was huge. The Falcons, had a good opportunity. It was unfortunate that he lost 2 players.
Wasted a good combo here, Stafford and Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, wasted 24 points for both. Fortunately, Denver couldn't put up a lot more.
Bolts get themselves the 1-1. Falcons dropped them 1-1. Moving on to our next game, we have Smash Mouth
Mouth
versus
v.
Maximus. It didn't happen this week for our expansion team.
Nope.
They didn't break their cherry.
Nope. Well, maybe it'll happen at some point. I don't see them going.
I'm not riding them on the. I actually thought Maximus played a good game this week. Quite
Yeah,
frankly.
I don't think there's anything they could have done differently just by looking at the roster outside of making transactions. Buffalo's offense came on late to win their game. Pittsburgh only allowed 20 points. You thought they might have allowed much more.
They actually won the defensive battle, but
They did.
They did win the defensive battle here. What killed them was the quarterback position here.
Because Bradford had 18 as opposed to Manuel, who only had 8. And Maximus continues to struggle with the supporting cast. He only had 6 there, despite the fact that Janikowski had great numbers for him.
Good day for the drunken luscious. He put up some good numbers, but we worry about the wide receiving core. Anquan Bolden, new acquisition this week, was lucky to get a reception against Seattle's defense.
I mean, the interesting with Smash Mouth could have had a lot more points in this game, but they benched the 2 big running backs and Lynch and Giovanni Bernard.
Well, we said
great breakout games.
We said on the preseason podcast how we worry about the Smash Mouth and the fact that we love their running back system, but we worry about would they get it right every week. And this week they just got it wrong, quite frankly.
They only got 6 from Charles.
18 from Marshawn Lynch on the bench.
Yeah.
That's painful.
I guess they had a lot of confidence in San Francisco's defense.
Respectable, but if you look at the stats, Marshawn Lynch torched San Francisco's defense last year, so I just don't think he was doing his homework well in terms of who he started.
I probably would have elected to start Lynch.
It was a mistake, and luckily for him this week, it didn't cost him.
Nope, didn't cost him.
On the plus,
Smash Mouth get their first win.
On the plus side, kudos for using Sam Bradford this week for 18 points and pure garbage time, frankly, for St. Louis. That
actually helped him beat Maximus.
That was the differential here.
That was the differential here. His offense defense really canceled out.
I worry about Maximus' death because, again, he might lose Maurice Jones-Drew for more in a week. And Ahmad Bradshaw, and now with this Trent Richardson deal, Ahmad Bradshaw's role is going to be significantly reduced in the Colt offense.
No, you're right.
So this could be Maximus might be looking to make a trade with the very opponent he's making. This could be a good time to make some deals.
I know how always you promote that.
I do, Maximus. I'm rooting for you week 3. I like to get you off the schneid and get you into the winner's circle. But lucky to see you next week.
I certainly hope not.
Well, unfortunately for you, Mike, you came up next in our last game, the Killer Toads versus the Pigskins, and the battle of the 1-0s.
Yeah, I fell short on this one, mainly due to offensive futility. Mostly, I would say.
Yes, you failed the Jacksonville line of offense for scoring below Jacksonville.
Yeah.
That's impressively bad.
Yeah, I know, by 1 point.
For shame!
Wouldn't matter exactly which offense I started. The only other solution would be to go in free agency. So once I went into free agency today and mathematics signed Minnesota.
Of course, there is a matter of general pride, and starting Detroit offense would at least stop you from being sticker gat for the next 2 minutes in this podcast.
Regardless, Rob put up good numbers from Ryan. He had great numbers from Nelson. I mean, the whole Green Bay offense had terrific numbers. I mean, I was banking on hopefully Green Bay allowing more points, or at least my offense scoring more, as both defenses really didn't allow as many points.
They just all coughed up garbage time touchdowns. That was pretty much this game here.
Yeah.
At halftime, their defenses were at 0
The
and positive.
differential in the game was Philadelphia's offense, which scored 30 points.
Yes.
I think Rob learned his lesson from week 1.
He did, and Philly's offense came through nicely this week with a big 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, he did leave a couple other players on the bench that could have scored. Pierce and Johnson, he did other supporting cast
Starting
members.
Frank Gore against Seattle's defense probably wasn't the wisest play this week.
But then again, I wouldn't expect them to use Pierce as much as they heavily rely on Rice, and Rice got banged up during the game.
Bernard Pierce is a good goal line back either way, and if Ray Rice is hurt, Bernard Pierce should step up to a good role for Rob.
Yes.
So more to look forward to. Not to mention Trent Richardson now comes to Indianapolis for him.
So I know he's going to be very happy about that move, and perhaps a good move for the Solamente as well.
It is. Coach is stronger than they look compared to what we thought in the preseason podcast. Yep. This looks like maybe Rob does have another trick up his sleeve to keep getting to the playoffs.
Moves to 2-0 on the year.
He does, and he has control of the AFC going into week 3.
Now we'd like to discuss the top 5.
Yes, our top 5 Morocco displays of intelligence. This was a harder list this week. I must congratulate the league on being intelligent for the most part, but that won't stop me from finding 5 to poke fun at. At number 5, the Smash Mouth. 18 points for Marshawn Lynch, 12 points for Giovanni Bernard. That's 30 points. That's more than what the Pigskins scored this week, sitting on the bench.
Yet, he still won.
He did win this week. Bench another 30 points from your running back tandem next week, and you may wind up higher on this list. Number 4, Tavon Austin. Rookie sensation, 12 points. You didn't need him this week, Solamente, but that won't excuse you from making the wrong choice this week. At number 3, the Pigskins, for not starting Jacksonville's offense in favor of Tampa Bay's. Because let's face it, if Chad Henne can do better than you, Mike, you need a better offense.
It was 1 point.
That's 1 point more than what you have.
It still
Not my
makes you-
fault New Orleans doesn't know how to tackle.
Oh yes, on that crucial pick six.
Yeah, it's not my fault.
Drew
And it's not my fault Lindell can't kick a field goal.
Like I tell you, Drew Brees is just a better quarterback than he is a tackler.
Yeah, I know.
That was a pretty sad tackle for the
Yeah.
record. At number 2, Boss Man. You make it off the list by 1 this week, but Baltimore's offense again was a monumental failure. They just don't have Joe Flacco just didn't have him in this week, and when Ray Rice went down, it wasn't a very strong week for Boss Man. Again, he screws up the offense and picks up another minus in the offensive defense tandem. But
Hopefully that will improve.
But our number 1 choice here comes not just for being a bad choice, but the logical explanation that was provided to us goes to the Falcons for starting for being quote unquote forced to start Denver defense.
That was his text, I believe.
Yes,
during the game.
Yes, I was discussing this with the Falcons going into as the games were playing. I was asking, so why Denver over Cleveland? And he said I was forced to start them. So I came up with a list of reasons why he was forced to start Denver's defense. Reason number 3, he thought Trent Richardson was not traded yet, or for some reason he thought Richardson was going to go nuts. Number 2, Eugene thought Eli Manning had to be traded, or was benched, or was fumbling the ball as much as David Wilson. And number 1, Tom held Eugene up at gunpoint while he was tweeting that message. I just don't know. I can't understand. For the record, no one's forced to start anyone they don't want to. If you think if you're under duress, please contact us in advance.
Could have done the 21.
Could have done the 21. That actually wouldn't have paid off. He got off easy with Denver, but he doesn't get off this list so easily. Congratulations, Falcons. You are this week's winner of the moronic display of intelligence. Keep on trucking.
Looking at the schedule and the matchups for week 3, I think that the best matchup is going to be between the Falcons and the Solamente.
Big battle here. 1-0 versus the 2-0 Solamente, who are battling.
1-1 right there.
It's a good play. It's a good old-fashioned battle here. Detroit's offense against New Orleans offense. Both have good matchups.
Mm-hmm. Another respectable matchup I like would be the system of the down versus the blitz.
Ariel and me usually have good clashes, quite frankly. We haven't crossed paths in the form of rivalry yet, but it's going to lose a little flavor from last year when it was Brady versus New England's offense. This year, we're not going to be able to shave as much.
No.
Yeah, that's lucky for me this year.
Yes.
Other matchups, we have Smash Mouth versus the Killer Toads. We have an AFC divisional battle here. Smash Mouth looking Killer Toads can really get some separation here and get
Divisional matchup right there. The
Yeah.
pivotal, as well as my matchup, which is Maximus versus the Bidskins.
Maximus, we're rooting for you.
Whoever wins between me and Tom could control the division lead.
Well, the XFC again is showing itself early to be weakest division, as they have 2 teams looking for win number 1, and we have and no one in that division is undefeated right now.
That's right.
Other matchups include Bolts versus Bossman, which might go down as the saddest matchup of the week in terms of scoring, as both these teams haven't exactly lit up the scoreboard in the first 2 weeks. Bossman needs to make better managerial decisions. The Bolts need to think if New England's going to really guide them down the path to victory. And unfortunately this week our
The Hot Rods versus the
our
Rough Riders.
blowout of the week will go to the Hot Rods versus the Rough Riders. If you can guess which way we're thinking on this one.
Good luck.
Monday Night Football should be a very long night of football for the Hot Rods.
Rods.
I really hope they spend their Sunday.
I hope Green Bay puts
Saving
up the
points.
same numbers that they actually put up against
Yep.
Washington, or else he doesn't have a prayer.
This is going to be messy. Peyton Manning against the Oakland defense at home. There's a reason why that line's 14.5. That's going to be ugly.
Maybe we'll be lucky.
At least not as bad as
maybe
20
we'll be
with
lucky
Seattle.
that will not start Denver.
Yes, Ben. There are other options to consider, like Mercy.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for this week's podcast. We look forward to hearing complaints and our usual front. We are looking forward to more stupid decisions, people. Come on, I need more to work with for next week.
And feel free to taunt each other. It's fun.
Well,
And particularly you.
yes.
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 You just get off this week lightly, but next week I can't make any promises.
Yes.
Yes.
The
I'll
Blue
worry
Mike is
about
gonna be
next
mad.
week. Next week.
Yes.
So, signing off, I'm Andrew Berg.
I'm Michael Berg.
See you next week.